Hello, everybody. So today I'm going to be doing a very brief overview about why insulin is expensive, what we can do about it, what's already been done. Again, I'm going to keep it super brief so that people kind of are able to quickly watch this and process it. We'll also briefly discuss the Senate bill that's being proposed. All right. So 1 in 5 insulin users is rationing insulin. Okay. So that means they're taking less than their doctor has told them to take. And this is not a private versus public versus no insurance thing. As you can tell, it's pretty even. Obviously, there's more bias or more towards the no insurance, but I mean, I guess that's to be expected. But people on private insurance as well are rationing insulin. So it's an everybody problem. That is 1.3 million people, okay? That is 1.3 million Americans that are skipping or delaying insulin because of the cost. It's also worth noting that this is probably higher. The survey only asks if people are rationing insulin due to cost and not due to things like healthcare accessibility. So it's almost certainly higher, but it's at least 1.3 million Americans. Okay, so what does insulin cost right now? So it's $22 for people who are on Medicare because it's been capped. We'll talk about that in a second. But for private insurance, 58 to 63, could be a little more, could be a little less. You're probably going to fall somewhere in this range, depending on your deductible and plan, etc. And for uninsured people, it's like the Wild West. Like it's $100 to $600, could be more. It's a lot of money, and it's also worth noting because I don't want people to get the misconstrued idea that if you're diabetic, $60 a month and you're good, because that's not true. So you have to keep in mind that this is only for one kind of insulin, and this is for 30-day supply of insulin. Okay. Also worth noting, you could be taking more insulin, but just for simplicity's sake, diabetics have to take long-acting and short-acting insulin. They also need a CGM, a continuous glucose monitor, or a blood sugar testing kit. You need test strips for that. You're going to need stuff like glucagon. There's a lot of other expenses that come with being diabetic, so it's not just $60 a month. So what actually happens when you ration your insulin? So when you ration your insulin, you're taking less medication that has been prescribed to you by your doctor. Over time, you're obviously going to end up in the hospital more. Or ER visits, as the research shows. So let's actually talk about that very briefly. So the kind of pinnacle of diabetic hospitalization is DKA. It stands for diabetic ketoacidosis. And essentially, in very plain terms, what it means is when your body can't process the sugar or carbohydrates, it starts breaking down fat in your body. And the fat breaks down into ketones. And ketones go in your blood, makes your blood acidic. Your blood literally becomes acidic. So this is what happens when you don't take insulin, by the way. So out-of-pocket cost for DKA is about $31,000, okay? $31,000. You spend 3 days in the hospital and a ton of money, all right? And to put that into perspective, that's 74 years worth of capped insulin, okay? So $35 a month, you could get insulin for an entire lifetime, okay? So keep that in mind. Insulin's not even expensive to make, okay? Frederick Banting invented insulin in the 1920s. He sold the patent for $1 because he didn't want people to not have access to it because they couldn't afford it, all right? And it costs $10 a vial to make today, okay? It's very cheap to make. It's easy to make. It's easy, okay? It's not some expensive, complex drug. We know how to make it. We've made it for 100 years, okay? So 3 insulin companies control 90% of the U.S. insulin market, all right? And they have increased prices 54% from 2014 to 2019. So they are hiking prices. They're essentially cutting people out of life-saving medication. There's not an alternative for insulin either. You need insulin. If you're diabetic, you need insulin. There's not something else you can take. So this isn't even a hypothetical, all right? Dylan Ash, 23, died, all right? And Alex Smith, 26. I believe his mother walked in to his apartment. He died on the floor of his apartment, and his mother walked in on it. And both were due to not being able to afford insulin. I know Alex Smith got cut out of his private insurance, and then he died shortly thereafter. So, this is real. People are actually, suffering and dying because of this. This isn't some abstract issue. This is real. All right, so the private fix, obviously, those stories came out along with a bunch of other ones about diabetics dying because they couldn't afford insulin. And because they were under so much public and media scrutiny, the manufacturers, they cut their prices. And so you would think, okay, look, they cut their prices by almost 80%. Okay, it should be fine. But there's a kind of a caveat to that, and the caveat was that you had to sign up under their programs, you had to get approved, you had to use their rebate card, stuff like that. Like they made it difficult to access this capped insulin, okay? Because of that, almost no change in rationing occurred. So people didn't know about it. I'm diabetic. I've had diabetes for 15 years. I didn't know about this until I was doing research on this. So it's not like my doctor didn't know. No, it's like it's not accessible information. So rationing barely changed, okay? So the public fix was the Medicare cap in 2023. You may have heard about it. Essentially, they said that if you're on Medicare, you are capped at $35 a month or a percentage of the cost of insulin. So it made it very cheap for people who are on Medicare to access and buy insulin. The problem is that the requirements for Medicare, you have to be 65 years or older, or you have to have special disabilities. Diabetes doesn't qualify. So 71% of the people that are rationing insulin didn't qualify for this Medicare or for the Medicare cap. So it was, again, patchwork, not fixing the major issue. So here is the bigger, overarching, better fix, okay? So there's a Senate bill right now that's in committee. It caps insulin for $35 a month out of pocket for anybody on private insurance. It doesn't really do anything for people who are uninsured. So, you know, it's more patchwork, honestly, but it does kind of widen the horizon. And it opens up the door for us to universally cap insulin prices. But for now, it bans prior authorization and access barriers, and also forces PBMs to pass 100% of the rebates through. So a good example of this would say, like CVS, for example, is considered a PBM. They are hired by the insurance companies, and they negotiate lower drug prices for the insurance companies, and they take a fee, okay? They take a cut, and that's how they make money. This would ban them from doing that. And the reason it would ban them from doing that is because even if insulin is $35 a month out of pocket for you, they could still charge their fee, and it keeps insulin prices artificially high. So this fixes that. So it's $35 a month, and it makes it much more accessible, and it doesn't let stuff like that happen. Okay, again, for the uninsured, it's not great. I'm not even going to lie to you. It's not great. So they would get a National Resource Center hotline, so you could call them. Supposedly, they would be able to tell you maybe about stuff like these private caps, right? There's a 10-state pilot program for like healthcare centers. It seems like the uninsured are sort of an afterthought in this bill, but it does, again, it's not great, but you got to think about the amount of people that it's helping. And I think it opens up the door for us to have a conversation about universally capping insulin. So 26 U.S. senators are already co-sponsoring this bill. It's a bipartisan bill. Democrats and Republicans. It's also endorsed by the ADA and Breakthrough T1D, which was also JDRF. So this has momentum. This has the potential to pass. This is a real thing, okay? So you need to call your senator. You need to tell them to co-sponsor the bill, push it through, etc. I'll leave information down below on my website, which I'll talk about actually here right now, Pass the Insulin Act. Go to this. It'll have all kinds of resources. You can call your senator, email your senator, etc. It does matter. It matters, okay? It takes 2 minutes, you could be the reason that this bill passes, okay? Here are my sources for this. It's kind of a lot. I'm not going to go through it right now, but it's here if you want it. So please call your senator, etc. This has the potential to save like a lot of lives and make a lot of people's lives a lot better. So I think it is our responsibility as citizens of this country to do this. So please call your senator, email your senator,